Shalawam. This is SABBATH returning to you with part 2 of YAWAM HASHABATH. And what we're going to look at, we're going to look at some scriptures to prove to you, and also historical books, yes, to show you why YAWAM HASHABATH is a very holy and a very sacred day. It is holy. It was made holy by the Most High, HaAhba, Yahweh Elohim. He celebrates this day along with his angels, and he has given us the privilege here on the earth, his children, to celebrate it with him and his angels. Okay? So we're going to look at all those scriptures to show you why it is so vitally important that we uphold this very sacred day, why we must be obedient to his commandment to celebrate YAWAM HASHABATH on the 7th day, the evening of the 6th to the evening of the 7th, creating the 7th day every week of every month of every year. Okay? So we're going to look at 2.2. Now the Most High hallowed this day, meaning he made it a holy day, not just on the earth, but also in the heavens. Angels celebrate YAWAM HASHABATH in the heavens. From the book of Jubilees, found in the Apocrypha, which I consider are historical books, or part of our historical books, because there are quite a few of them actually, which was written by Masha on the Mount Horeb, we find more evidence about YAWAM HASHABATH. So let's look at the book of Jubilees, Yaoqab, chapter 2, verse 17 to 20. He, speaking of Yahweh, gave us a great sign, YAWAM HASHABATH, that we should work 6 days, but keep Shabath on the 7th day from all work. All the angels of the presence of Yahweh and all the angels of sanctification, these two great types of angels he has told to tell us to keep HaShabath with him in heaven and on the earth. And he said to us, look, I will separate to myself a people from among all the peoples, and these shall keep YAWAM HASHABATH, and I will sanctify them to myself as my people, and will bless them. As I have sanctified YAWAM HASHABATH, and do sanctify it to myself, even so will I bless them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their Elohim. Verse 20, I have chosen the offspring of Yaoqab from among all that I have seen, and have written him, Yasharaal, down as my firstborn son, and have sanctified him to myself forever. He's speaking of the 12 tribes of Yasharaal. And I will teach them YAWAM HASHABATH, that they may keep Shabath on it from all work. We see that Yasharaal was chosen, the 12 tribes, the children of Yasharaal. They were chosen to be the people from amongst all other people, because we have many nations, many different types of peoples, but only the 12 tribes of Yasharaal were chosen to keep Shabath with the Most High and his angels. Now, in saying that, I have to say this. If you go back to the scriptures, it clearly states that YAWAM HASHABATH is not one law for Yasharaal and another law for the Gentiles. If they were Gentiles living amongst our people in those days, and it is for us today as well. You have someone in your household who is not of the lineage of Yaoqab, of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaoqab. They're not of our lineage, but they're living in our household. They too must observe YAWAM HaShabath. As long as they're under our roof, they have to observe the very same rules that we have to abide to. If they don't want to celebrate YAWAM HaShabath, then they just go. They just leave. But as long as they are residing under our roof, they have to keep Shabath. No working, no intercourse with their wives or husbands. All these different things we're going to cover. But they have to observe Shabath. There's not one rule for us, not one law for us, and another law for them. We're trying to keep Shabath, and they're having a jolly old time, doing their own thing. It's a sacred day. It's so sacred that everyone must celebrate it as long as they're under the roof of the children of Yasharaal, one of the children of Yasharaal. It's that sacred. And it's something that we have to drill in our minds to understand how sacred a day is, the highest of all the holy days. That we uphold that law. If you bring strangers in, whether they're friends or family that have not been awakened, your children, whoever, it doesn't matter. They're under your roof, you're celebrating YAWAM HaShabath, they must do it too. Otherwise, don't bring them in. Tell them, come back next week. But this is my Shabath. And as long as you're under my roof, you have to keep Shabath the way how I'm keeping Shabath. Because it is my holy day, and it is Yahweh's holy day, and it is a sacred day, and I am intending on keeping it the way how He has taught me, instructed me to keep it. You got to put your feet down. Well, you got to put your foot down. Sometimes with people, you're going to have to put both feet down. Because the first thing they'll tell you, you're being religious. You're being this and you're being that. It's okay. Don't argue with them. Just say simply, come back another day. All right? Don't argue with people. This is between you and the Most High. When they come before Him, they have to answer for themselves. Okay. Debarayam, Deuteronomy chapter 7 from verse 6. For you are a holy people unto Yahweh al-Hayak. That means your Allah, Hayam, singular, personal. Yahweh al-Hayak have chosen you to be a special people unto Himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Do you know how special you are? You're so special that people want to kill you. The devil have you on his chart, and he's throwing darts, hoping to somehow wipe out Yasharaal off the face of the earth. He has installed his agents in the nations to raise them up against you. Everything that's happening right now in this world is about you and about the Father regathering you. That's how important you are. If people could only understand what is at stake, the inheritance that's waiting for them, if only they would obey the Most High. Verse 7, Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people. For you were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, have Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondsmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, which is Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, which is Egypt. Now let's go to the book of Jubilees again, Yasharaal chapter 2 from verse 21 to 33. He created in it a sign in accordance with which they should keep Shabath with us on the seventh day, to eat and to drink and to bless him who has created all things, as he has blessed and sanctified to himself a particular, exclusive people above all peoples, and they should keep Shabath together with us. Allow me to pause there. One thing. We're not supposed to fast on Shabath unless he specifically indicates to you to do that. But we are supposed to eat and drink and bless him and honor his name on this day, and rest, of course. Now we're living at a time where Negroes, they call them African Americans, us. Well, I don't call myself African American. No, I'm a Negro. But they call the other folks African Americans, blacks, whatever. I don't call people by a color, because we are not a color. We are a people, a nation, and we are Negroes. All right? We've been brainwashed, and all the other nations have been brainwashed to look down upon us because of the color of our skin, the texture of our hair. A lot of it is due in part to jealousy, because we are the strongest, the fastest, the fittest. We can produce children like nobody's business. You can put us down, but you may break our spirit, but you're not going to break us. We're strong. However, there are some of us that do not understand that we are an exclusive people above all other peoples. We were created exclusive. Our DNA is exclusive. Let me tell you just how exclusive you are. I came across this video. Now, I have to take things with a grain of sand, with a grain of salt. Not sand, salt. You have to learn when to chew and swallow and when to spit, all right? But I appreciated this particular piece of information that is documented, by the way. These two brothers, they are people. they're doctors. I don't know if they're physicians or what, or maybe they have doctorates, PhDs, right? But they're called doctors. And they came across this study about the DNA of people and animals. And these scientists, I think about 15 of them, they have tested animals and different peoples from different countries, different nationalities, different races. And what they were looking at the DNA sequences within that person's body. What they have found, and I'm giving you the shorter version of what they said. They found that orangutans have only 4 DNA sequences. They found gorillas have 5 DNA sequences. 5, one more than the orangutan. They found chimpanzees. They have 6 DNA sequences. When they looked at the DNA of people now, in general, they too have 6 DNA sequences. Now, I hope I have that last word correct. I'm sure I do. But there is a people that are they're found. These people are found in a particular region of Africa, not all over Africa. Particular region of Africa and lower parts of Africa, close to South Africa, but it was not South Africa. I think there were 10 countries. 10 countries in Africa. 10. And these people, not in the other parts of Africa, the other parts of Africa were still 6. But in this region where there were 10 countries, starting from the west and curving its way up towards the east. Those in a sequence, those countries they're in a line, and then that was 7, and then there were 3 down to the bottom. Not South Africa. No, not South Africa. If I have a chance, I will get the names and put it in the description box. All right? The names of the countries. Okay. They found that the people that live in those 10 countries in Africa had 9 DNA sequences. 9. But what this doctor went on to say is that we came out of Africa and we all can base our DNA from one of those 10 nations. And that the reason why the people, what they were trying to say is that, I guess, was it Kenya, is the womb of Africa, and some peoples came out, and a whole bunch of stuff that I've never even heard of. And again, that's something that you spit out, because he obviously is not awakened as to who he really is. We are not Africans. We are not Africans. We are not Hamites. We are the offspring of Shem. Our people, those 10 countries, are occupied by our 9.5 tribes. They came there from Assyria. Those are our people. Those are the 9.5 tribes living up in there. Some of them might be scattered other places too, in little pockets, but the greater concentration of people are right there. And they're the ones, our people, that have the 9 DNA sequences, as well as those who are living in North America, the Negroes. We're all the same. So that means that we are smarter. That's why we are exclusive. And yet, our people, they go and marry into other peoples, other nations that have less than what we have. They only have 6. They have the same number as a chimpanzee. And yet they want to tell us that we're the ones that came from a monkey, right? Isn't that what they said? You black people come from monkeys? It's not us that came from monkeys, because our DNA sequences are higher than the chimpanzee. All the other peoples have the same number as a chimpanzee. 6. And you want to marry one of them? You think that you're marrying up because he has lighter skin, straight hair, that you call nice hair. And you think so low of yourself that you will marry down thinking that you're marrying up. But what you're doing is you're diminishing your DNA sequences. That's why the father said only after the 3rd or 4th generation are you welcome back into the lineage. And your children and their children and their children's children all have to marry back in to get the DNA sequence back up. Because you've just lowered your DNA. That's why you can't come back into the kingdom. Your children, speaking specifically of your children. But the only way for you to come back in is to put them away. You're not bringing those lesser beings into the kingdom. Yes, he has a plan for them at the end of the age, but they got to go through some stuff. Like we've been through some stuff. They can't hitch a ride on your donkey cart. And a lot of people are like, oh no, I love him and he loves me and I love her and she loves me and so on. No, it's not about love. It is about your DNA. Your DNA. And the only way your children, if you're mixed, if you're in a mixed marriage, your children are not going to be in the kingdom. They are not going to be welcomed into the kingdom. Neither will their children, unless they marry back into the lineage 3 or 4 more times. And then that offspring will make it into the kingdom, but not before. That's what happened with Joseph. He married an Egyptian woman, did he not? But his children, his sons' children, they all married back into the tribes. And it was between the 4th or 5th generation that came out of his sons. They came out of Matzariah. So there were legally, spiritually, physically Yasharaal. Can't get it any other way. If you think that you can bring these other beings into the Father's kingdom, think again. You're going to be rudely awakened to the fact that not only does he not want them, he doesn't want you either. You're a sellout. You don't know how valuable you are. And if you can't see the value in yourself, you're not going to see the value in him, because he created us in his image. He calls us his firstborn. We are his children. So we ought to be reflecting him. And if the reflection that you look upon disgusts you, then that means that you'll be disgusted by him. You are so disgusted by yourself that you have to go and white yourself out. That is not the plan of the Most High. But let's move on. I tend to go on these little rides because I can't seem to understand why we can't see the value in ourselves. Yes, we've been put down so long and for so many generations, but come on. Why do you think that is happening? You gotta go and start looking for answers instead of succumbing to their lies and deceit and drawing yourself farther away by getting involved with someone from another nation. How about doing some searching, you call it self-evaluation, some deep searches, like, who am I? And you'll be surprised that if you ask the right questions, you will get the answers. Okay, let's move on. Verse 22. He caused his commands to rise up as a sweet odor, acceptable before him all the days. His word will not return to him void. So when he speaks, it happens. It may not happen the same day. It will happen. Verse 23. There were 22 heads, representatives of mankind from Adam to Yaoqab, and 22 kinds of work, which is creation, were made until the 7th day. This is blessed and holy, and this one serves with that one for sanctification and blessing. All of the 22 works of creation were created for Yasharaal, created for his people. Yes, it started with Adam and Hawa, but he knew that Adam and Hawa were going to sin, and all these different nations and peoples are going to come out of them. But he said he selected a grape from a bunch of grapes. He took one grape from the bunch. And from that one grape, he perfected his planting. And that is Yasharaal. And how did he perfect us? Through his laws, his commandments, his judgments, and his statutes. No other nation has what we have. They have gods, but they created their gods, and their gods are highly permissive. They can do whatever they want to do, and it's good. We are restricted because the Most High is holy and he wants us to be holy like him. And he does not want us to be like the other nations. The things that they do, the things that they eat, the way how they speak, we are to be an extraordinary people. And if we cannot embrace that fact, then everything that he has put out there for us to walk in obedience, we will despise. And the first thing we're going to say is, but why do I have to do this? Because these other people that have these religions, they can do this and they can do that. It's not about what they can do or what they are doing. It is about what the Most High wants us to do. You see, he has given over the peoples in this world, the nations in this world, to serve the fallen deities, the fallen gods, evil spirits, the sun, the moon, and the stars. He gave them that to do. But Yasharaal is to worship him. That's how much he loves us. Let's move on. The world and everything in it will become sanctified and blessed again once Yasharaal take their rightful place as leaders in this world. Right now, we're not leaders. We're the tail. And we deserve it because of what we have done to the Most High. Our forefathers, and even us today, are living like harlots, breaking his commandments, serving other gods. And then they wonder, why is he not rescuing us, delivering us? Why are people being shot down in the streets? Because they're living like harlots. They don't even observe the Shabath. They're not obeying his commandments. So if you're living in disobedience, how can he come and rescue you? How can he bless you and preserve you? He can only do that when you're under him. Then he can cover you with his wings. He said, you'll be like chicks. And I will bring you under my wings and I will protect you there. But you gotta come to me on my terms. And when you come to me on my terms and come under me, under my shadow, I can then cover you and protect you and preserve your life. But if you're out there and you're facing the storms of life without me, it's going to eat you up. And I'm not going to leave where I am to come and rescue you until you submit. You repent and you submit to me. Then I'll bring you back. But you still got to face some consequences though. Don't think you're going to escape the consequences. Adam and Hawa, they broke the one law by eating that fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And they repented many times over. But they had to bear the consequences of their action. That one time, the Father didn't take it away. He tried to make it bearable for them because he pitied them. But he said, what you have done cannot be undone until the ending of the age. Can you imagine? All right. Let's carry on. Right now, the 12 tribes of Yasharaal are divided into two kingdoms. The northern kingdom is called the House of Yasharaal, and it is made up of 9.5 tribes. The southern kingdom is called the House of Yahweh, and it is made up of 2.5 tribes. Both kingdoms are being dealt with individually throughout the generations, all right, until the time when the rebels, the stiff-necked ones, will be purged out and the righteous remnant will be regathered, first at separate times, then later to be reunited together in their land. So he is going to deal with each kingdom individually. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, he's dealing with the southern kingdom first. The northern kingdom, like I said before, is up there somewhere in Africa. Some might be even northern, like where Syria, Lebanon, some of them might be up there, right? You might find them scattered thinly in North America or UK, Europe, thinly. But the greatest concentration of our 9.5 tribes would be in Africa. And here's a little tidbit that I heard today. Central Africa, that was inhabited by the French armies, they're being withdrawn so that the Russian armies can come in. Now ask yourself, why are these things happening? We know that Gog and Magog will be coming against our people. And we know who Gog and Magog is. Yes, it's made up of several countries, but it's generally Russia. So they're getting themselves in the ideal position, because if they're in the central location and our 10 tribes, the 9.5 actually, but they're 10 nations of Yasharaal, the northern kingdom. If they're located in that region, they're in the prime position to strike out against the northern kingdom when they begin their second exodus into the wilderness. Prime location. I only found that out today. So it makes me think now that the time of the end is closer than we think. It is close, but he is going to extract the southern kingdom first. I'm hearing, and I've seen videos of it, a lot of North Americans are fleeing to Africa because they think they're safe there. Now, does not sound familiar. North Americans are the southern kingdom. We don't get along with the northern kingdom, but we're running there hoping to escape the horror that is coming to the world. It's not just coming to America, it's coming to the world. But they're fleeing in the wrong direction. They're fleeing in the wrong direction. They're looking for those people to shelter them, because they look at the color of their skin and think we look like brothers, and they call them brothers. And I keep saying this over and over again. They're not our brothers, because at the end of the day, they're going to sell you out like they did before. And even if some of them are the northern kingdom, they're going to sell you out too. If our own people, the southern kingdom, could treat one another with such disdain, and we know who we are, and we're supposed to be brethren, and we do this to each other, how much more do you think the northern kingdom, who is not awakened to who they are, because they think they're Africans, how much more do you think they will do the same thing, if not worse, to us? When our people go running to them for protection. I know people that running up in there, and I told them, don't go. I said to them, do not go. You are getting yourself into some serious hot water, and you wouldn't be able to get out. Where are you going to go? Africa is Africa. How are you going to escape? But they don't listen. And we have a saying from the Caribbean: hard ears you don't hear, hard ears you're going to feel. Only thing is, it might not be a little whooping you're going to get. You're going to lose your life. Stay out of Africa. Well, when I say Africa proper, because I'm in a country that is typically called Africa, but I am not in the other part of Africa. All right? And this is where the Father led me to keep me safe. And He is doing a very good job thus far. You need to listen to Him. Start looking at what other people are doing and thinking, oh yeah, we can go there and buy land and become autonomous and this and that. And we have the African brethren. They will say anything to bring you because they want your money. I know people that been to Africa and had to flee from Africa because all it's about is money. They don't care anything about you. Now let's move on. Verse 24 of the same chapter 2. Yaoqab and his offspring were granted that they should always be blessed and holy ones of the first testimony and law, even as he had sanctified and blessed YAWAM HASHABATH on the seventh day. He created the heavens and the earth and everything that he created in 6 days, and Allah made the seventh day holy for all his works. Therefore, he commanded on its behalf that whoever does any work on it shall die, and that he who defiles it shall surely die. I know people, even myself, defile his day, and I'm still living. All right? But what we did in ignorance, His mercy covers. But now that you have an understanding of who you are, you got to know that these things are still relevant. These commands that He gives to us, these commandments, these laws, they're still relevant to us. So what say you now? What is your excuse? You can't claim that you're ignorant anymore. You know who you are, and you know what He is expecting from you. But you still don't want to do it because you're still living. But He has a very He's long suffering. He has a very long rope when it comes to His people, because when we run out of rope, that's the end. And then you cannot say, I did not know. And no amount of mercy, no amount of begging for mercy is going to save you, because He gives you ample amount of opportunities to make it right. Verse 26. Because of this, command HaBanai, which means the children of Yasharaal, to observe this day, that they may keep it holy, and not to do on it any work, and not to defile it, as it is holier than all other days. Because He celebrates it. He rested on the seventh day. Verse 27, and whoever profanes it shall surely die, and whoever does any work on it shall surely die eternally. Eternally. That means when you die, there's no resurrection to life. in the coming millennial reign, it means that you will perish and be waiting for the judgment at the white throne. They call it the white throne judgment, where you will be sent to the lake of fire. They will cast you into the lake of fire. That's what he means when he says you will surely die eternally. So you're sitting back today and thinking, I don't really, because, he said that, but we have grace and he understands that we need to do this and we need to work. I've heard people say this, and I'm like, how can you say things like that? What do you mean he understands? How can you say that he understands that you need to work on his holy day? Unbelievable. And you might think, well, I've been doing it for a long period of time now and nothing has happened to me. But what is going to happen to you in the end? Where are you going to end up? What is going to happen to you? If you're making all these excuses now for this holier than all other days, I am sure you're making excuses for everything else. So generally speaking, you're a Gentile, because there's nothing special about you. Let's carry on. Verse 27. He said, anyone that works on it shall surely die eternally, that HaAhba Yasharaal may observe this day throughout their generations, and not be rooted out of the land. We already been rooted out of the land because we broke his Shabath. That means Sabbaths, plural. We've broken his covenant. Our forefathers, they worship other gods in the land, in his land. So we've already been rooted out. But that doesn't mean that we stop doing the things that he wants us to do to remain as his people. Let me tell you something. When you got someone who worships Buddha, leave their country, and they go to another country, what do you think they do there? They still worship Buddha? They don't stop worshiping their gods because they moved to a different country. We're the only people. You move us to a country and we want to absorb the pagan, heathen ways in that country. We're the only people that do it. And that's why he rooted us out. He said, okay, go and live amongst the Gentiles and tell me how you like it now. Are you loving it? No. But you still don't want to change your ways. You still want to keep doing what you've been doing for generations. Definition of insanity. Do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And not be rooted out of the land. Still 27. For it is a holy day and a blessed day. Verse 28. Everyone who observes it and keeps Shabath on it from all his work will be holy and blessed throughout all days as we are blessed. Now, if you want the blessings of the Most High, you have to obey his commandments. You have to keep his Shabbat. You have to do everything that he tells us to do without excuse. And don't say, oh, well, this is the old covenant. The only thing that makes the covenant old or new is the blood. Blood of animals is no longer needed. We already have the perfect blood of HaMashiach. That's the only thing that is different between the old and the new. But if you want to learn more, go and I did a very in-depth lesson on the covenant. Verse 29, declare and say to HaAhba Yasharaal the law of this day, that they should keep Shabath on it, and that they should not forsake it in the error of their hearts, making excuses. Making excuses. That's how you get into error. You try to find a loophole. Well, I want to go out on my Shabath day. It just happened to fall. My friend's party fell on a Shabath day. Now I can't go. Or Shabath day fell on one of my work days. So, and you try to find a loophole. Well, maybe this one time it's not going to hurt. But that one time is going to grow to 2, 3, till eventually you become desensitized. You become desensitized to how important this day is. And when you do that, then you become desensitized to everything else. And then you wonder why you have so many problems. Why is your marriage in trouble? Your children giving you problems. You have problems at work. You have all kinds of health issues. You looking at other people and thinking everyone is moving ahead, but not me. And you wonder why the Most High will not bless you. Well, that's the reason why. Carry on from 29. And it is not lawful to do any work on it which is not suitable. Suitable meaning if it doesn't pertain to worship, then it's not suitable. It has to be about worship. So if you're on your way to your friend's house to worship him, that is permissible. You're getting together and you're having a little worship time, Bible study time, that's permissive. But I'm not talking about traveling a day and a year away, because the whole idea is about rest. But you're just going down the street, 5 minutes in the car or whatever, that's permissive, because you're going to be spending time with another brethren to encourage each other and to bless the name of Yahweh. That is permissive. He will permit that. That is suitable. Going on, to do their own pleasure on it. What is your pleasure? Doing things for you. It is all about him. What do you like to do? You want to sit and watch your sports? We got a game coming on, whether it's basketball, football, soccer, whatever. That's your pleasure. But you'll be saying, well, I'm resting and I'm not really working by looking at the screen or television or iPad or whatever. That's not work. I'm relaxing. That's what he wants me to do. But that's your pleasure. Where does he come in? Oh, well, he can come and join me. Oh, really? You think he's interested in these rigged games? These entertainment games? That some of you call, you worship some of these players like they're your gods. That's why you get so angry or so upset when things happen in these games. That's your pleasure. What about, you pick up a book and you want to read your favorite novel. This is a time for me to catch up on my reading. That's your pleasure. You want to go on the internet and you want to download different things that you didn't have a chance to do during the week. That's your pleasure. Where does he fit in there? It's not about you. It's different if you go on the internet and you are listening to a brother or sister ministering, or you're doing your Bible studies and you need to research something. That's different. That's all part of the Bible studies sometimes. We don't have libraries anymore. We have the internet. Well, we do have libraries, but we don't have libraries like it was before. But you're using the internet to help you with your Bible studies. That's fine. Or you're listening to a ministry, hopefully it's a good one. That's fine, because you're doing Bible studies. You're thinking about him. And you're listening about him and you're reading about him. You need to put yourself away, out of the picture completely. Some of you are like, well, I'm a married man and my wife needs this, and I'm a man and I need that. I think it's a time to go and cuddle together. I'm not against cuddling. You're married. You're allowed. But just don't do it on his day. That's your pleasure. It's not time to have intercourse with your wife either. That's your pleasure. Or with your husband. That's your pleasure. Where does he fit in that? It's all about him. One day. You have 6 days to do everything that you need to do for you. And he only asks you for 1 day. Not 12 hours, by the way, like some people are teaching. A full 24-hour day. Oh, I can't sleep next to my wife or my husband without, Well, you need to either move yourself out to make sure that doesn't happen. Right? Or you need to move him out. Choose who's going to sleep in the bed tonight alone. Maybe alternate. But it is a special day. It is so special that he wants you to hallow it. It's not time for you. It's a time for him. Let's go on. And that they should not prepare anything to be eaten or drunk on it. And that it is not lawful to draw water. Now what he's talking about preparing, he's talking about when, back in the day, when they were in the wilderness, they had to go and gather sticks and light a fire. And it's very laborious. I know, because I've done it. And I've done it many, many, many times. Because where I'm living now, you can light fires. Yeah. That's very a wonderful experience. So you're dragging these big branches and stuff. It's laborious. You get tired after that. Right? And then to start cooking on that. But you can prepare a meal as long as it's reasonable. Not a buffet. But you can go warm up your stuff in the oven. I know some people don't like to light a stove literally on that day. But that's up to you, your interpretation. But what I will say to you is that if you cook the day before, all you need to do is reheat. You just need to reheat it. And if you stick it in the oven and flick it on, that's it. He is not that hard pressed about flicking on a light. Some people don't even want to turn on a light because when you press the button, it sends electricity, which is like fire, to the light bulb. That's nonsense. Were you going to walk around in darkness all day, all night long? Especially when it gets to be wintertime and we have less light. Starting from like 3:30, 4 o'clock, depending on where you live. You still got to use common sense. He doesn't want you to go and create a buffet of a meal where you're spending all this time in the stove, slaving over a stove. But if you cook the meal the day before, all you got to do is reheat it. That's all. Stick it in an oven. It's done. I personally, I don't like the stove. I have a gas burner stove. I don't light it. Because you say you should not light any fire. But I have an oven, an electrical oven. I have an electric kettle. I need hot water to make my tea. And I need to warm up my food. So I use it. And he has not convicted me yet of it. Some people say, well, you shouldn't be. That's up to you. But when it comes to me, I go by what the Spirit speaks to my heart. And if it was wrong, he would have told me a long time ago. He has not said anything. Because I do not spend my time over a stove. Put my stuff, it's usually a one pot meal anyway. Throw everything in the pan, stick it in the oven, turn it on for 5 to 10 minutes, it's done. Then I can continue praising him, worshiping him. It is not lawful to draw water or bring in, still verse 29, or take out through their gates any burden which they had not prepared for themselves on the 6th day in their dwellings. So he doesn't want you to be lugging things around. He doesn't want you to go to the shop to do your shopping, to the supermarkets. Oh, this is my rest day, but yet you're out there shopping. You can carry a burden as long as it is for you, and it was part of temple worship. Verse 30, they shall not bring in or take from house to house on that day. You know how some people like to move or take things over to a friend's house because this is my day off. Really, it's supposed to be Shabath, but it's my only day off. All right. For that day is more holy and blessed than any jubilee day of the jubilees. On this day we kept Shabath in the heavens before it was made known to any flesh to keep Shabath on the earth. Verse 31, the creator of all things blessed it, but he did not sanctify all peoples and nations to keep Shabath, but Yasharaal alone. Them alone he permitted to eat and drink and to keep Shabath on the earth. And the creator of all things blessed this day, which he had created for blessing and holiness and glory above all days. This law and testimony was given to the children of Yasharaal as a law forever to their generations. It is forever. It's not merely for our forefathers. This is something that we have to do to the end of time. All right. Jubilees, chapter 10. Great is the honor which Yahweh has given to Yasharaal that they should eat, drink, and be satisfied on this festival day. Rest on it from all labor, which belongs to the labor of the children of men, except burning frankincense and bringing offerings and sacrifices before Yahweh for days and for Shabbathawath. Now, I want you to keep that in mind when later on in the slide you're going to see, actually at the end of the slide you're going to see a scripture from, I think it's Mark or Matthew, one of the two. And anyway, when we get there, just keep this Jubilees 10 in your mind. When he said it is accepted to burn frankincense and to bring offerings, that means you can bring your sacrifices, your animal sacrifices, before Yahweh for days and for Shabbathawath. All right, just keep that in mind. Jubilees 50 from verse 1 to 12. I've made this law known to you, the days of Shabbathawath, Sabbaths, in the desert of Sinai between Elim and Sinai, I told you of Shabbathawath of the land. We know that is every 7 years on Mount Sinai, and I told you of the Jubilee years in HaShabbathawath of years, the Shabbats of years. But I have not told you the year of it until you enter the land which you are to possess. Right? And we know that when they entered into the land, it was the 50th Jubilee. Verse 3. Keep HaShabbathawath of the land while they live on it, and they shall know the Jubilee year. The Jubilee year is 7 Sabbaths of the land, which will be 7 times 7 equals 49. And the year after that, the 50th year, is the Jubilee year. Verse 4. I have ordained for you the year of weeks and the years and the Jubilees. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, and 1 week and 2 years, and there are 40 years yet to come for learning the commandments of Yahweh until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Jordan. So when they were in the wilderness, it was 49 Jubilees from Adam until that point of time. By the time the new children, their offspring, entered into the land of Yasharaal, it was their 50th Jubilee. Verse 5. The Jubilees shall pass by until Yasharaal is cleansed from all fornication and uncleanness and pollution and sin and error, and it dwells with confidence in all the land. There shall be no more Satan or evil one, and the land shall be clean from that time forever. Now that's the very ending. The very ending when we return to the land for the final time. Satan will not be permitted into our land. But that is going to happen on when Yasharaal is cleansed. That's why we have to go through what we're going through. He is cleansing us. He's sifting us like wheat to get rid of the chaff, to get rid of the rebels. And he has done it with the southern kingdom. That's why I'm saying he is going to extract us first. And then he's going to do the same thing with the northern kingdom, because they're the ones going through the second exodus into the wilderness. And by the time they get to the land of Yasharaal, that land will be cleansed. But I don't want to repeat myself because I've covered all of this in a previous lesson. Verse 6, I've written down the commandment for them regarding HaShabbathawath and all the judgments of its laws for you. So there are laws governing the Shabbathawath. All right? We have to obey those laws. Verse 7, 6 days will you labor, but the 7th day is HaShabath of Yahweh al-Hayak. You shall do no manner of work in it, you and your sons and your men servants and your maid servants and all your cattle and travelers also who lodge with you. The man that does any work on it shall die. Whoever desecrates that day, whoever has sex with his wife, whoever says he will do something on it, you don't even have to do it. You just have to say you're going to do it. Or he that will settle on a journey on it in regard to buying or selling, or whoever draws water on it, which he had not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whoever takes up any burden to carry it out of his tent or out of his house shall die. Verse 9, you shall do no work whatsoever on YAWAM HaShabbath, except what you have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest. Is that so difficult for us to do? Keep Shabath free from all work on that day. It is to bless Yahweh Alahayak, your Alahayam, who has given you a day of festival and a holy day, and a day of the Holy Kingdom. This is a day for Yasharaal among all their days forever. Because the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach will bring us, at the end of his reign, will bring us to the 7th day, according to the heavenly tablets, the heavenly testimonies, or the testimony of heaven, of the heavens, which is the beginning of our eternal Shabath. That's what we're working towards. Verse 11. Only this work shall be done on YAWAM HaShabath in the sanctuary of Yahweh Alahayak, so that they may atone for Yasharaal with sacrifice continually from day to day, for a memorial pleasing before Yahweh, so that he may always receive them from day to day according to what you have been commanded. So the priests are allowed to work on Shabath, because they have to kill the animal. Remember, he said you're not supposed to be killing on Shabath. Remember that. But the priests are allowed to kill, because they're making atonements for you. Well, for our forefathers, not for you, but for our forefathers. But the priests, they were working. But they were working so that the people could be atoned and their sins be forgiven, and they can be sanctified in the presence of Yahweh. But we're going to come back and we're going to see in the next, I believe it is the slide after this one, not this, the one after this one, where Hamashiach said, have you not read that the priests profane his day and are blessed? Something to that effect. We're going to come to it. And this is the reason why he said that. Because the priests, in order to make atonement, they have to break the Shabath, in a sense. But that is allowed. And they receive a blessing for that, because they're doing work on the Most High's behalf. And it also explains when he said that man was not made for Shabath, but Shabath was made for man. All right? Verse 12. I'm going ahead of myself. Every man who does any work on it, or takes a trip, or tills his farm, whether... Sorry, I'm checking to see if I finished 11, so that he may always receive... Okay, yes. Verse 12. Every man who does any work on it, or takes a trip, or tills his farm, whether in his house or any other place, and whoever lights a fire, or rides a beast, or travels by ship on the sea, shall die. And whoever strikes or kills anything, or slaughters a beast or a bird, or whoever catches an animal or a bird or a fish, or whoever fasts, you're not supposed to fast, or makes war on HaShabbath, the man who does any of these things on HaShabbath shall die. This is done so that the children of Yasharaal will observe HaShabbath according to the commandments regarding HaShabbath of the land. It is written in the tablets which he gave into my hands, that I shall write out for you the laws of the seasons, and the seasons according to the division of their days. All right? There's so much that has been intentionally hidden from us because the books that were written by our forefathers, like Hanawak, which is Enoch, Ozarah, which is Ezra, Barawak, which is Baruch, and many other prophets and apostles, were either destroyed or hidden. But they were also, what we have now, have been contaminated, changed. They put the names of their gods in our Bible, in our manual. This is for the same reason why our calendar, the one given to us by Yahweh, was changed. To keep the true Benai, Yasharaal, children of Yasharaal, in the dark about who they really are. And to keep them worshiping their pagan gods and their festivals, like Christmas. As you can see, this is not difficult to achieve. Looking at the track record of our forefathers, they were constantly being led astray into pagan worship. That's always been our problem, and still is. To keep a people in the dark about their identity, their true form of worship, their culture, and even their language is a diabolical plot. But Yasharaal was warned by the Most High that this was going to happen if they didn't stay away from idolatry and profaning his YAWAM HaShabbath, profaning his name as well, breaking his commandments. His YAWAM Shabbathawath, He told them that he would scatter them amongst the Gentiles to worship their pagan gods there. Don't do it in my land. I want to send you out. You can do it there. And then he let the Gentiles come in and do theirs, which is adding salt to the injury. Right? It's adding salt to the injury. We were not permitted to stay in the land. Our forefathers, not us. Our forefathers were not permitted to stay in the land to worship their pagan gods. They were scattered. But the Gentiles came in and they're doing this very same thing, worshiping their pagan gods in our land. That should make us feel bad. That should make us feel terrible. All right. YAWAM HaShabbath is celebrated in heaven. HaAhba, the Father, celebrates it along with his angels. And why is it that many of our brethren feel that it isn't important or relevant to observe this time of rest? Why? Why? I feel completely rejuvenated after my Shabath. I turn off me and I focus on him. Most people who celebrate this day is not observing it correctly. That could be the reason why too. Therefore, not could be, it is the reason why. Therefore, it has been defiled and profaned. You're calling a unclean day a holy day, and you're calling a holy day an unclean day. You're celebrating it on the wrong day. That's why you can't be blessed. And I've gone through that already in slide 1. Either do it properly or don't do it at all, because not celebrating it is just as bad as using another day for Shabbat. HaAhba has designated one day alone for Shabbat, and that is the 7th day, not the 13th day. When you look at your calendar and you're celebrating your Shabbat on the Friday, from the Friday evening to the Saturday evening, and it's not a multiple of 7, then some bells should be going off in your head. Because if you're celebrating the Shabbat on the 11th day, or the 9th day, or the 23rd day, or the 25th day, or the 31st day, something has some bell should be going off in your head. And you can't blame that you're not a mathematician not to figure this out, because every 7 days, or the 7 days, are multiples of 7. So you're celebrating in the first month, the first Shabbath of the month is the 7th day. The second Shabbath of the month is the 14th day. The third Shabbath of the month is the 21st day. The fourth Shabbath of the month is the 28th day. If you're celebrating your Shabbath on any other day but those days, you're in the wrong. And you can't celebrate it according to the Gregorian calendar anyway. So you're wrong again. So even if it falls on those days on the Gregorian calendar, chances are it's the wrong day still. Because the Gregorian calendar is different from our calendar. And I think that's in the next slide, the next lesson. So that's why you're trying to keep Shabath, but you don't really feel the blessing or the blessings that come from it when you're doing it properly. You're not feeling the rest. Your spirit is still very perturbed at the ending of it. You have anxiety and worry and frustrations and anger and all manner of negative emotion because you're celebrating it on the wrong day. And he's trying to get your attention to change it. It's not working. He has also commanded, HaAhba has designated one day alone for Shabath, and that is the 7th day, and not according to the Gregorian calendar, but his calendar. And if you create the right calendar, you will find from month to month, the Shabath is always on the 7th, always on the 14th, always on the 21st, and always on the 28th, starting from the evening of the day before to the evening of. That makes up the full 24-hour days for that day. All right, let's move on. He has also commanded his chosen people to keep Shabath with him, as it is a sign of our covenant with him. If we are not keeping Shabath, then it means that we are not in covenant with him. Who are you in covenant with if you're not keeping Shabath? Or you're keeping it on the wrong day? You're not in covenant with him. And you will face his wrath just like our forefathers. If he did it to them, and they were close to the thoroughbreds, well, you can basically call them thoroughbreds because they knew who they were. They had everything. They had the language. They had the culture. They had everything. And if he caused them to perish in the wilderness, how much more will he do the same to us? Because once you break his covenant, once you break his commandments, you're going to face his wrath. Now, I'm not talking about making a mistake, because I've made many mistakes trying to figure out the Shabath. Many mistakes. But that's where his grace comes in. To say, okay, get back to work and let me show you again. Make another mistake. Let me show you again. I had to draw up my calendar for the next 2 years so that I don't miss a Shabath or celebrate it on the wrong day. That has happened to me too. All right. But his grace covers us when we make those kinds of mistakes. Unintentionally. But if you are intentionally doing things and you're not trying to change or to make changes or to make the corrections, then you will face his wrath. He understands that we are now learning about who we are. He understands that. He understands that we're only flesh. He understands that we're fighting battles continuously. to try to keep us dumbed down and away from the light. He understands that. So that's why he has his mercy and his grace there to help pick us up every time we fall. Dust us off and say, keep on going, my child. You just keep on going, one baby step at a time until you make it to the end. Sometimes you can run, and then there are days when you're crawling on your all fours. But he's there urging us along, saying, don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Just keep going. And that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Don't stop. Don't throw in the towel. We're coming on to the very end. Our redemption is so close that we should be able to smell it. It's that close. Don't give up now. It's not too late to start celebrating your Shabath the correct way. It's not too late. It's not too late to repent and to ask for forgiveness, to try to walk on the straight and narrow path. It's not too late. But if you're going to try to do it and still sit under those ministries that are telling you not to, and you will be in a continuous warfare, which is going to wear you out, and you will end up going nowhere at all. Come out and come away from these people. That's what I had to do. I don't pay attention to these people. It's only now that I may go and look and see what, because it comes up on my feed. Okay, well, this person is talking about right heifers or whatever. Let me see what they're talking, what lesson they're teaching out there. That's what I do. And then I hear enough, flick it off. That's it, I'm done. I don't get into any arguments with anyone. I don't get into no heated discussions. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I'm trying to stay on the straight and narrow path, and the devil isn't going to pull me off with an argument. No, thank you, sir. Zip my lips. Sometimes you got to learn to shut up. Keep your mouth closed. Focus on the goal. Okay. We cannot keep Shabath, HaShabath of the land, as we are not in our land presently. Soon it will be, though. Nevertheless, we are still required to keep YAWAM HaShabath even in the land of our captivities. Yaoqab, which is Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 16, therefore say, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, although I have cast them far off among the heathens, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come from. So even in the countries of our enemies where we are scattered, he will still manifest himself in a small way. And that brings hope. And that hope lights a fire in us to know that he is still with us. All right? So anyone telling you in the land of your captivity, you cannot keep Shabbat, you cannot keep the feast days, we have to wait until we go into the wilderness. Well, if you can't do it in the land of your captivity, how are you going to do it in the wilderness if you're going to make it there? And let me tell you, Southern Kingdom is not going into the wilderness. I keep saying that over and over again. And that's another reason why you would never be able to keep Shabbat, because you're not going into the wilderness. That is reserved strictly for the Northern Kingdom. They have a job to do in our land. So while you are here in the land of your captivity, be like Daniel, and his 3 friends, and still worship the Most High while in the land of their captivity. It can be done if you set your mind to do it. and stop making excuses. Matthew chapter 12 verse 1. At that time, Yahweh, which is our Hamashiach, went on YAWAM HASHABATH through the corn. And his disciples were hungry and began to pluck the ears of the corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, Behold, your disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon YAWAM HASHABATH. But he said unto them, Have you not read what the Wad did when he was hungry? And they that were with him, how he entered into the house of Al-Hayam and did eat the showbread. Now the showbread was in the sanctuary, and it was only for the priest. But the Wad was hungry, and so were the men with him. So he went to the priest and begged them for some bread, and the priest gave it to him, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them who, verse 4 again, how he entered into the house of Al-Hayam and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them who were with him, but only for the priest. Did you not know that? Yes, he did. And he was not struck down, because the Father is not unmerciful. He understood that he was hungry. Verse 5, Or have you not read in the law that on the Shabath days, the priests in the temple profane HaShabath and are blameless? That's the scripture that I wanted you to remember in reference to when the priests, they break the Shabath, when they make atonement because they have to kill the animals, right? Then they have to cut them up and they have to burn them outside the camp and inside the camp. All right? So they profane HaShabath because they have to do it on the Shabath day, but they are blameless because the Father permits them to do it. He said it's okay to do it. Just like he said, it was okay for Dawah to eat the showbread. Verse 6, But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if you had known what this means, I will have mercy and not sacrifice. I will have mercy and not sacrifice. So that's the saying that he wanted them to understand. I will have mercy and not sacrifice. You would have not condemned the guilty. All right? He's not here to condemn us. He first convicts our hearts using his Ruach HaKodesh, who brings us to his word, right? That brings conviction. And you're supposed to make the amends necessary to get back on the path. Because he is a merciful Father. He is not interested in your sacrifices for atonement. And I'm speaking as if you were in the wilderness or before Hamashiach came. He is not interested in the sacrifices. He is more interested in having mercy. And that's why he has the sacrifices for us. And that's why he sent his only begotten Son for us. Because through his Son, we can experience his mercy when we ask for forgiveness. He's not looking, he said in his word, he will prefer that all come to repentance. He's not willing that we perish, but all come to repentance. But we don't want to repent. And we still want to carry on what we're doing and have him oblige it and endorse it at the same time. Because we're the controllers. We're the creators. No, we're not. He is the controller. He is the creator. Verse 8, For the Son of Man is Adawan, meaning master, even of YAWAM HASHABATH. He created it. It's his. And they were with him. And if he didn't have a problem with it, why did the religious leaders have a problem with his disciples picking ears of corn to eat? They were hungry. Mark 2 from verse 26 to 28 is the same scripture, but a slightly varied, and I picked up from verse 26, and it's slightly different from Matthew's gospel. How he went into the house, speaking of the word of Allah in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful to eat but for the priests, and gave also to them who were with him. And he said unto them, HaShabath was made for man, and not man for HaShabath. You're not going to starve and die because it is Shabath, and you want something to eat, but you can't put something in the oven, or you can't flick on a button to turn on, to make some tea, to get some hot water. Yes, he has strict rules where he doesn't want us to overexert ourselves to do these things, because we'll be focusing on preparing the meal rather than focused on him. But if it's a quick thing that you have previously done the day before and you just need to slip it in an oven or something, that's fine. Do it. Therefore, the Son of Man is Adawan also of HaShabath. If you feel convicted afterwards, then don't do it anymore. But I don't feel convicted putting my food in the oven. In fact, when I have Shabath, and my Shabath is going to start today, later this evening, I'm going to cook my meal, and it will finish just before Shabbat starts. So my meal is already hot. It's already warm enough to eat. And the following day, I will eat my dinner after Shabbat is finished. So now I can go, if I want to light the stove or, prep something else, I can do that. But what happens now, because my Shabbat is today, all right? Today's Saturday, but my Shabbat starts sunset today, and sunset of Sunday, right? That's my Shabbat. But the day after that is the beginning of my Feast of Tabernacles. So I'm going to be celebrating 2 Shabbats back to back, because I have to treat the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles as if it is a Shabbat. Yes, I do. So what am I going to do now? Because my food isn't going to stay warm for another day, for 24 hours. Well, I'm just going to scoop a little bit out and put it in the oven. An electric oven. Turn a button and it's done. 10 minutes. That's what I am going to do. I'm not going to have to prepare anything because it will already been prepared 2 days before. Okay, let's move on. Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. Now I included this. I know this is not really to do with Shabath, but I included this to make a point. All right. Unto one he gave 5 talents, unto 2, to another 2, and to another 1. To every man according to his several ability. So whatever ability you have, or let me put it towards these 3 men. Whatever ability they had, the master gave them talents to match. All right? All right. And straightway took his journey. He that received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received one went and dug in the earth and hid his other one's money. So the person with the one talent, instead of trading to receive two, he decided, okay, no, I'm not going to do anything with this because it's not even my money. It's not mine. He did not take ownership of what was given to him to cause it to multiply. All right. After a long time, the other one of those servants came and reckoned with them. And he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Other one, you delivered unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained 5 talents more. His other one said unto him, Well done, you good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter you into the joy of your other one. Now I'm going to pause there for a minute, because the whole idea that I want you to understand is that when the Father, depending on your spiritual maturity, He's going to give you a nugget to match your spiritual maturity. Or He will give you a number of nuggets, revelation of His word, to match your spiritual maturity. If you're a babe, you're brand new into the kingdom, He's not going to give you meat to chew. He will give you milk. But that milk is only supposed to last you a certain amount of time. And depending on what you do with the milk, right? Depending on your reaction, your growth, that milk should become pablum. And that pablum should become meat in a matter of a short period of time, especially in these days. But if He gives you milk, or if He gives you that one little revelation, that understanding, and you do nothing with it at all, and you hide it because you think that later on you can do something with it, or you don't have to do anything with it. It's because it's not mine. And I'll give you a perfect example. Many of our people have been awakened to who they are. They've been given a nugget. A nice golden nugget. Now what are they doing with it? Oh, I'm just going to wait till I go into the wilderness. That's it. And that's why I included this, because when I read this parable, it just speaks volumes to me about how some of our people are. Or they take that nugget and they go under a ministry and they hide their nugget under that ministry. This person tells me, I can do this. They're still following a church-like ministry. There's no difference between that ministry, that so-called camp, and church. They're following the same and calling on the same gods. Now, how can your nugget grow to become 2? And that's why the Father only gave you 1 in the first place, because He knew that He couldn't trust you with anything more. All right, let's move on. He that received 2 talents came and said, Other one, you delivered unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents besides them. His other one said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter you into the joy of your other one. And that's what He does. He gives us little to see what we're going to do with it. I remember when I came into the knowledge of who I am, I was, first of all, I couldn't believe it because I kept thinking, okay, yes, I'm a spiritual, well, I don't want to use the word Jew, but spiritual Hebrew. Well, he said, no, you're from the bloodline. Hey, how is that even possible? But then when he started, when I still received it, but I said, how is it possible? Just like Mariam, when the angel came to her and told her, you know, you're going to bear a son, and she's like, how is it possible? I'm not married, I'm a virgin. How is it possible? I asked the same question with the innocence of heart because I had no clue whatsoever, because I've been brainwashed. I was brainwashed to think that the people there were the true people. And then when I found out the truth, that was it for me. I went and I wanted to know everything I could possibly know. Okay, let me go back to the word now. Let me study the word and find things out. Oh, we have a language. I got to find out what that language is. Oh, we have our own festivals. I have to go find out what that is. We have a Shabath. It's not Sunday worship. Oh, the name of the Most High is not Jesus Christ. Well, the name of the Son of the Most High is not Jesus Christ. And the name of the Most High is not God. Oh my, I gotta go find out the truth. He put that question, it's like he gave me that one nugget, and that one nugget started to grow from 1 to 2. But then he started adding more. And as he added more, it started to multiply. I know this is not quite what is happening here, but it is somewhat similar. Because when he gives us one, he wants to see what we're going to do with it. And I actually believe he gave me more than one. He might have given me 2. Don't know. But I have a lot now. Nuggets that my nuggets have multiplied, and he has given me more. Because he said, now you can handle the fullness of the truth. Because the things that I know now, if I had to learn this even a year or so ago, it would have been hard for me to absorb it. Hard. Because it is different from anything that I've ever learned. He had to gradually bring me to this place where I am right now. Gradually. But I got to a point now where he can literally just drop things to me. Download things into me. And I'm ready. I'm able to embrace it. All right, let's move on. Verse 24. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Adawan, I knew that you are a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not strewed, which is a lie. He was lazy. All right. And I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the earth. Lo, there you have, that is yours. He never embraced it. The Father is telling you things about who you are, and you don't want to embrace it. So you chuck it away. His Adawan, verse 26, answered and said unto him, You wicked and slothful, you lazy servant. You knew that I reaped not where I sowed not. You knew that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strewn. You ought therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury, with profit. Take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him who has the 10 talents, because now he can handle more than 10. For unto everyone that has been given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that has not shall be taken away even that which he has. So if you already have nothing, what else are you? What else can you lose? He lost the 1 talent. It was given to the one who had 10. So what else does he have to lose? Let's read on. And cast you, the unprofitable servant, into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. He lost his life. So if you're not profitable to the Father, you're going to be cast into the outer darkness. You're going to be cast into the lake of fire. You're unprofitable. You just want to sit back and get him to drop everything in your lap. You don't want to do anything. You're lazy. And you're comfortable sitting under people that will tell you everything that you need to know, when to do it, how to do it, and why to do it. As long as it works with your program, you're good with that. But this is not the Father's way. And all you're doing is creating a big problem for yourself. So that is part 2 of YAWAM HaShabath. I will be starting part 3 pretty soon. Don't know if I'll be able to have a chance to do it tomorrow, but I will for sure have part 3. I think this one has at least 6 parts, if I'm not mistaken. But Shalawam, Shalawam. May the Most High bless you and keep you. Shalawam.